Welcome to this presentation on PharoJS. PharoJS is a project I've been conducting since 2015 with my friend Dave, who is there with the PharoJS shirt. You see the shirt is old, meaning that it's an old project. I mean, it's started from 2015. So today we will discuss, some of you might know PharoJS, some might not. So we'll discuss, give some introduction about PharoJS and discuss what we are doing with it for real-world application, so real software. So first question, who has been doing Smalltalk for only 1 year or less? Okay, there are a few ones. So I have a warning for you, run. Or it will be too late. It's dangerous, it's a drag. So you've been warned. So I start with Smalltalk. We all know that it's a great language. We love it because for objective reasons, it's the language simplicity, power, reflection, dynamicity, all the well-designed libraries, all design patterns that were built thanks to Smalltalk, with Smalltalk. The tools, the IDE is great. You go look at what's available in the market for other programming languages, and you understand. So did you try coding? The professional developers, they are using VS Code. Compare VS Code to the IDE, and you understand quickly. And of course, there is the community. The valuable community. Really, you compare most of Smalltalk developers, most users, compared to other people on the other communities, we are like this difference. Really, people in the Smalltalk community, they are smart, they work fast, and they understand the concepts. They understand what is object orientation is about. They understand what are design patterns. You go talk to others, yes, I heard about it, but it's not that cool. But I'm here to talk about Smalltalk. And this is because we love Smalltalk. We love the language, the IDE. We want to use it for developing everything. We want to be using it all the time for all applications, on all platforms. But then there is a question. We are not alone in the world. We are not in an island. If you look, you do search on any topic, you will find plenty of non-Smalltalk resources in other languages. What do we do about them? Should we forget it and do our own thing on our environment, in our language? Reinvent the wheel? If you look at hypothetical real-world application. Try to put kind of everything in a quote-unquote architecture here. You have smartphones running on iOS, Android. You have desktops, obviously, with multiple operating systems, Windows, Linux, Mac. You have laptops, tablets with different flavors, different browsers, web browsers. You can have servers, obviously, different kinds of servers, virtual, real one. And you can have also, there is more and more small devices with small boards like ESP32 or alike. So for, the trend about IoT, and it's something that is growing for many years, and it's continue to stay there. So how such applications are built? You do a search, one possible solution. I like web technology, so you go there. You will find it's JavaScript, CSS, HTML, here and there. And you have interpreter for all platforms. You have libraries for different kinds of needs applications. If we go with Smalltalk, we have our virtual machine, we have our great image. The concept of image, by the way, for those who are new to Smalltalk, it's really great. one of the things that makes Smalltalk great is the image, but not only. There are plenty of things. But so we have our image, we have our virtual machine, but we are still a small community. So we don't have, we are already doing a great job. So if you go, the production per developer ratio, it's really high, but still we need to keep up. So we can have virtual machines running on servers, we have clients, but for on desktop applications or laptops. But if you go outside, it's more complicated. Things are evolving fast, and we are doing great job, but we cannot keep up. What do we do about the rest? What do we do? There are new protocols, new hardware, new web browsers. How do we integrate for mobile application, for Android, iOS? How do we do about it? The proposal I'm talking here is about PharoJS. It's one way to address these questions. So the idea is to bridge the gap between the Pharo world and the JavaScript world. All the resources are available there. So this can be on desktop servers using Node.js, on tablets, smartphones using web browsers, with the mobile applications using Apache Cordova project. So we want to develop in Pharo Smalltalk all the time. This is a constant. Great language, great environment, great tools, great libraries. We want them all the time. But then we want to reuse existing resources. We want to plug into existing JS libraries. We want to plug in Espresso, for instance, for ESP32. We want to plug into Apache Cordova for mobile applications. We want to plug into web browsers to have clients running on any web browser. We want to plug to Node.js to benefit from the speed of the JS VM, for instance. So what's behind PharoJS? There are multiple things. There is a transpiler. This is a compiler that compiles Pharo code to JavaScript code. So basically, you provide your set of classes, and it analyzes it. Well, we'll discuss it later. I have a slide about it. And which we produce working ECMAScript 5 code so far. We are trying to go to a further way in the ECMAScript versions. But so it's a working, running, portable on any JS interpreter. There is a framework that guides developers to build JS applications in Pharo, or applications that can be transpiled, run eventually on a JavaScript interpreter. And there are libraries, but this time libraries to extend the JS world. Basically, we are extending objects and some kernel classes objects in JS. So they have the same protocol or similar protocol to one we have in Pharo. So you take a JS library, and it gives you an object. It gives you a collection. You can, or array, a JavaScript array. You will be able to do, a collect, a select, like you will do on any array, any collection you get from Pharo. There are tools, some tools. There are not enough of them, but this is something that is meant to grow. But we have a playground, so we can enter, like a workspace you have in Pharo for evaluating Pharo code or playing with Pharo code. You can do the same, but this time on a code running on a JS world. So you are in your Pharo image, and you are talking to a JS interpreter and creating object there, sending messages. We can open an inspector on an object. So we get an inspector, a JS object, and see what's inside. And there is a test framework. So we love TDD. Agile is the reference in processes, development processes. Every serious developer making serious software needs to be doing tests. And test-driven development, for me, is the reference, and this is, I'm pushing it all the time. This, if you need to keep something, it will be test-driven development. So we need to be able to test our code, JS code. So JS code that may be involving third-party libraries, something that you didn't develop, but you want to ensure that the integration works well, that all the parts that you built together are making what you intended to do. So we have a test framework. So we are extending SUnit from Pharo, so we can run a whole suite of tests. I will show you some examples about what we have later. So we can run a suite of tests. So test your application, all scenarios, all use cases, until you are happy. You test it on targets. So with JS code running on a JS interpreter, and you analyze the behavior and see, do we get what we expect or no? And if it's green, we're happy, and then we can ship it to the customer. So let me check the time. Okay. So PharoJS follows the Pharo tradition. Pharo, as you know, was meant to be an open source Smalltalk oriented toward real world applications. With Pharo, we build true software that makes added real value for customers, and we are doing the same with PharoJS. We are in the same tradition. So Dave and I did several applications, some open source, some commercial. We have first commercial application. This is PLC 3K, to show that they are of different scales. So to show that what we are claiming does work for real. Work on real setting, real applications with real customers. So we have, we'll talk about the COVID tracker. So this is something developed by Dave. Basically, he was tracking the evolution of COVID. He was fetching latest data provided, but I don't know remember which yeah, Johns Hopkins Hospital data, all the data sets, and you can track what's going on in your country, different countries, compare, and so on, and have the charts. There is a Smalltalk repl. I will show a demo later, and there is the teaching PLC automation software that I will discuss also later. There are also mobile applications developed with PharoJS. They were developed to run on both Android and iOS. For this, we didn't invent the wheel. We checked what's available. And OK, there is Cordova. Cordova is an Apache project that relies on JavaScript to make multi-platform applications. So you have the same code base, and you deploy it. You have a set of tools that generates the APK, I don't remember the version for iOS, and basically you push it to the store. You develop it in web technologies, you push to the store. So we built on top of it. And we built these applications. So we see there is a map. You have all the look and feel as an application. You can talk to other applications in the environment. You can share things. So all the features you have in every application or major application you have on the stores, you can have them. We had them with code developed in Pharo. And thanks to PharoJS, we deployed to these targets. So the development was done in Pharo. And then when we go to production, we don't have a VM for iOS. We don't have a VM for Android. It's not a problem. We generate the JavaScript code and run it on the target. And basically, following the test-driven development. Before doing deploying or sending it to the stores, we first wrote tests, ensured that they pass. And this is what's done in Pharo. So we have SUnits running, and you have the simulator of the mobile phone running, and you can check that your application is working on the target. And then, at the end, we push it to the Cordova, and from there to the stores. So now I will make a short video about how we do the testing, just to give you a glimpse of how things are going. But maybe it's time if there is any question. No question? Yes, Steph.
Do you check that the tests on the JavaScript side, they run also?
No, you will see. Well, the question was, do we check if the tests run on the JavaScript side? Maybe the video will give the answer. So it's oh, okay, I don't have a... Yes, okay. So, initially, I have my okay, maybe I will center it a bit so it can be more readable. Yes. So, I start with my Pharo image, and I have my tests written in Pharo. I have the test runner, the default test runner that is available. We are just subclassing the test case and test suite classes from the SUnit, and we're extending them with PharoJS specific code. But from the tool perspective, we are using Pharo tools. And then we start with them, we select them. When we launch, you notice there is a window that opens. So this is triggered from Pharo. Pharo triggers the opening of the web browser, deploying the code, running the code, and checking that we get the right results. So basically what you see, it's moving because we are mimicking the user clicking around, and we check whether they are the results. So those are examples you will find in the default PharoJS image. So you can try them. They work out of the box on any platform, obviously. So we are using Pharo with the VM, so we can use it on Linux, Mac, or Windows, and you can try on something else. So, and you can use a web browser, any web browser. It opens your default web browser and runs there. So there are different examples. So I added an extra example, which is the repl Smalltalk. It's not part of the, is it part of the default package? I think we eventually package it with the default Pharo. Anyway, yes, so basically what we did here, we wrote a Smalltalk interpreter, but that relies on the Pharo compiler. This application talks to a server in Pharo. Okay, no, stop. Maybe I went too far. I have all the videos in a row. I went too far. Yes. Okay, we'll delete this. Let's come back. So we were in testing Pharo, how tests work. And so this will answer Steph's question. Yes. So when you trigger the test, it starts a server and generates the JS code that we're supposed to run on the JS interpreter. So in the JS code, there is a connection to the server that we have opened in the beginning. So we extend the application with this connection code. We link it to the right HTML. And we open a web browser. So we rely on FFI from Pharo to trigger to send a system call to open a web browser. So this is how we get the web browser. And so on the web side, on the web browser side, we have only the application plus the connection to the server. the tests run on Pharo. So we don't have to transpile tests as in the PhD of Pierre. So of course, the system URL, the system call opens the URL, it loads the HTML, opens a WebSocket, and starts talking to Pharo. Basically, it says, I am ready. And once the web browser says it's ready, then we can send events from the part of the test, like click on this button, read this field, and see do we get the result that we expect. And it goes on different tests. And each time we are running the test, we start from with a fresh browser or fresh tab to avoid collisions between tests, so they are isolated. But we transpile only the application code. Now I go to the other application, which is the repl. You saw the video. So basically, we have a web view. We type, or a text area, we type some Smalltalk code, so it's in a web browser. We click eval, it does some magic, and we get the result. So what's behind the scene? So we have Pharo image running with a Zinc HTTP server. On the web browser, we type the URL, we connect to this server, and so we get a get query. We got a response HTML. HTML needs to get some other resources, load an image, it loads an image, then read a script. It goes to the server, give me the script. Script goes, the server knows what is the client code. So it's Pharo code. So it goes over the classes, transpiles them to generate JavaScript, and send it back to the web browser. So web browser it's like any web application. You connect to a server, it gives you some HTML and some JavaScript. But here we have seen we are generating the JavaScript. We get our application, so it's ready. It opens the text area where you can type in. So I type something, some expression, do the eval. It goes through the Zinc server. It says, OK, it's Smalltalk code. Let's call the Pharo, the Opal compiler, the Pharo compiler. But we don't do the full compilation. We don't want to. We want to have some security. We don't want to have a user mess up with our image, like save and quit. At least this is the minimum. So we basically just parse it. We get the abstract syntax tree. And this is the input of the PharoJS transpiler. It gets the AST, the Pharo AST, and from there, it builds the JavaScript AST, traverse it, and generate the JavaScript code that we will send back to the web browser. So it is the web browser that executes the code in there, transpiled version of the code in there. Yes, Dave?
Just want to point out that only the Delta code that's necessary on top of what's already been loaded has to be generated, so that the message that comes back is only a few words.
Yes. Yeah. Yes. So I will repeat the comments. So it's only the Delta code, the code that you sent that is transpiled, only the difference between what you need to evaluate the code and what's already available that is sent back. Otherwise, the rest. Sorry?
But we'll also load extra classes.
Yes, we load what is missing to evaluate the code. But that's it. We don't load something else. Yes, Gish?
How do you manage
Compilation
compilation errors?
error. Easy. So this was a toy example. So basically, we have an on error do, and we send an error message with a more or less explicit description of what went wrong. So do you have? Let me see if we have something else. Yes, we do the evaluation. Maybe we can try it. I have it open here. Let's make it bigger. So it's available. You can go play with it. Yes, yes, I will move it. You can. So don't be harsh on the server. It's a small machine, but it's so if you go to PharoJS.org/repl, REPL, you are supposed to have this. By the way, thanks ESUG for supporting PharoJS and the domain. So if I do 1 plus 3, eval, so I get 4. Now let's do something plus whatever, eval. So yes, we take care of this. I cannot say it's 100% secure, but we did something to catch most of the bigger issues. Any other questions? Okay. So what time? Okay, we have time. Let's go back to the other window. Yes.
So you can load a Metachelo project on
The question is, can you load a Metachelo project? Thank you, Steph. Metachelo project from this, and the answer is no, because I think there are different reasons. One of them is we don't support everything from Pharo. This is the main reason. Let's try. Let's go there. PharoJS. Okay, it's low JS. PharoJS.org. And installing. Oh, okay, no. GitHub. Yes, give me the link. Let's try to load PharoJS there. Okay, no. And so okay, I need to go. So you see, it's the code. It's the code to load Metachelo. Let's see what happens there. No, it did something else. Okay, this context is not supported. This is what it says. So because we don't support, I mean, Smalltalk, you know, it's powerful and it has some specific concepts that we don't find in all languages. And we having hard time converting everything to JavaScript. So if you have some code with like this context or some special features, use reflection, it won't work, obviously. But you see, we are covering like 80%, I think. I didn't measure it. It's like a guess, but you see, in most cases, we don't use this context. We use it in typically reflection support. We use it in tooling, and Metachelo is a tool part of Pharo. No more questions? Okay, let's carry on. Yeah.
Say, this is actually not expected to be because it's executed in a browser.
Yes, exactly. Yes, because we need to convert Smalltalk code to JavaScript, and we don't have so far an equivalent for this context. Maybe sometime in the future we'll put some effort on it and have some slow version or something. I don't know if it's possible, but so far we don't have it. Yes, Guy.
What about, I mean, this is running on the browser, so it's JavaScript code in the end.
Yes, this is running on the browser. This is JavaScript code at the end, yes.
Yes. So how do you manage references to global?
How do we manage globals is, we have a Smalltalk dictionary connected to the globals of JavaScript. So basically, window dot something, Smalltalk at something becomes window dot something in JavaScript. So still, the REPL version is still limited. We can do more. I cannot show. Maybe I cannot show it here for this demo. because we cannot do all what we can do with PharoJS. With PharoJS, we can basically we are creating classes, we are adding globals, we are adding many stuff in application. So except using the reflection and some features, some deep features, advanced features from Pharo, otherwise the rest work. But in the REPL, we don't have. It's a subset of PharoJS. Okay, so some figures. So this example, the REPL example, is a small app. The client and the server are 10 classes. Of course, we are using libraries, so this is part of why Pharo Smalltalk is great, because there are plenty of resources, well-designed one. So we are building on top of them. The extra layer is 10 classes, 64 methods. And we have a test, and it's 20 methods. And the regenerated application is 267K. So basically, it's 3 more K than core PharoJS. PharoJS is 264, and the application adds an extra 3K. Well, the question is, do we have a unit test? So this for the REPL, and this is the test class. When I say we have a test class here, it's testing the REPL. So when I run it, it opens the REPL and puts some valid expressions, check that we get the right result, right display, puts some erroneous expressions, and check that we get an error message, and so on. So this was a small application. So I felt confident enough with PharoJS to start a company building this product. So a slightly larger one. So it's a software for teaching factory automation, PLC programming and factory automation. So it's a SaaS software. It's bigger, a little bit bigger, like 342 classes, few thousand methods. This is for the application, and there are tests. And we are testing that the application is working. We are testing just that when we do such action, like we push the start button there, we expect some results. If we do some action there, we get some other results, and so on. Oh. Yes. So it's the product is an educational software plus some content. We provide a bunch of exercises, and they are targeting to students learning factory automation in universities. We provide them with different programming languages. Those are not our fancy programming languages. There are more basic ones. Basically, it's programming for non-computer scientists. Non-computer scientists, yes. So we have a simulator. Basically, a PLC basically is a computer that is made to work real time in some harsh environments and with some input, output, timey constraints. So we have a simulator for the PLC, so the view and the actual simulation, and we have multiple multiple physics simulations. Yes, a video, it's better. Yes, but now I need to open it. Okay. No, should not make it larger. Should keep it small enough so everybody can see. Okay. So this is the previous version of the software. it's running on it's a SaaS product, so it's running on a web browser. So students connect to a web browser, and you have on the right hand a physics simulation of something, some kind. Here it's a factory with a hoist, with some parcels, with some product, and we need to carry them around. And the students will try to write the right program to do what is expected in the exercise, like reading some inputs from a sensor down here and see if there is something there. If not something there, trigger the engine that is called, the output is called Q0. And so here we are defining variables. We are using a graphical programming environment. This is all HTML and JavaScript, all coded in Pharo, of course. And so yes, and when we are happy, okay, let's go faster because it's a video. And if we are happy, at some point, yes, we can check. We can start playing with the application, and you see the environment is reactive, so we can decide to compile our program, run it, and see if it does what we expect, and so on. And we incrementally develop something that will match the requirements. So this is basically what it's doing. And yes, behind the scene. Okay, I need to make it smaller a bit. No, I cannot. Yes, maybe. Behind the scene, we have a Pharo running inside a Docker container hosted by Google Cloud. And on the clients run plain web browser. This is the point, is to avoid, to make it as easy as it can go to help users use it straight immediately without install, without anything. And on the client side, we are using Bootstrap for the UI. Matter.js, this is a JavaScript physics engine. And there is the PharoJS code. So this is the application part that is 655 kilobytes. And there is a real physics engine behind. We can show it later. Maybe I don't have much time here. So yes, it's working, and there is a customers buying it. So it has some value. And it's 100% developed in Pharo. So, summary, we can build real-world applications with PharoJS, with Pharo and PharoJS. It's reliable, it's scaled, and it can address a variety of requirements. We write 100% Pharo code. Of course, we plug to what's existing there. We are not reinventing the wheel. We do it the smart way. So we plug to what's existing, take all the resources that are available, and reuse them, and add the value on top of it. And the value is in Pharo. And we do it the right way, with the right principles, with the right tools. We are doing test-driven development. Testing, testing, testing. This is mandatory. This is part of good engineering practices. And the testing is done by Pharo. So we don't use, I don't know if you have experience with JavaScript. I had some experience. I do consulting for companies doing web technologies with Java. And I tried some frameworks in Java. And I can tell you, it's not as good as Pharo. Pharo is this way higher. So use Pharo. And this is what we are aiming for with PharoJS. And this is what we can do it, and it works. And With this, we can target different kinds of architectures. Okay, almost there, on time. So we can have a server working 100% Pharo and JavaScript generated code because we don't have Pharo on some target. We can have a mixture on the server side. Say, okay, there is Node.js with some useful libraries. Let's use them and build on top of them and have Pharo talk to them. So we have services talking to each other on the server side. The customer gets HTTP requests handled. The value, what is expected, is there. And on behind the scene, we are using the best tools possible, fastest way. So we want to be fast and add value. And we can work different workflows. We can do something only on developments, like have handwritten files, or we can generate the HTML or CSS. We can have DOM element created with Pharo code. You can handle the DOM, arrange the DOM, change the CSS classes, change the style, reuse third-party libraries. You can have your JavaScript generated either at development or at runtime, depending on your requirements. And you can, of course, reuse third-party libraries. So it fits different workflows. And I have an announcement. So the joke, the April's Fool joke from 2021 becomes a reality. So we had a lot of effort with Dave working on the port of PharoJS to Pharo 10, and now it's beta. We are almost there. We have like few things to finish, to polish, and it will go to production. There are plenty of things for future developments, but I think I don't have time to discuss them anymore. So just develop in Pharo all the time, everywhere. And we can handle connection with the JavaScript world. Come talk to us. Dave and I are here whole week, and we'll be glad to discuss and give demos. Yes?
Thank you for the impressive project. Those two questions. The first thing, how do you do debugging? If it's Smalltalk, can you use the debugging tools from Smalltalk, or can you run parts of the application in Pharo before deploying it to the browser? The second question is, I saw that you have tests, so you have developed your own test framework to click on buttons, because there are other test frameworks in the browser that are different, reacting to events. So how did you solve that?
Okay, there are two questions. The first question is, how do we debug JavaScript code? So basically, the code we develop exists already in Pharo. We develop in Pharo. So we can run it in Pharo image and develop as we are doing only Pharo code. So we are all the freedom. The only thing is that sometimes there are connections to the JavaScript world. Connection to third-party libraries for which we are not the developer. So we just get the connection, talk to them, get the response. Do we get the right response? And if yes, we are happy. If no, we say, OK, we did something wrong, or there is a bug there, but we don't analyze them. We have some plans with Dave to go further away and debug JavaScript code, but the days are only 24 hours, so we need to choose, have priorities. So what was the other question?
The test, do you use the test framework from
Yes.
or did you develop your own?
So we extended SUnit. So the question is, do we use a test framework for browser test? Yes, browser testing. How do we do the browser testing? So what we did so far is that since we connect to the JavaScript world, and since we extend the JavaScript core libraries so that we can use JavaScript objects as Pharo objects. So basically what we do, we connect to the web browser and navigate to the DOM and say, OK, I want to send this event to this object. I create an event, a JavaScript event object, and dispatch it to the target. This is the solution we took so far. There is another option that we didn't we didn't explore, but we should be exploring it, I think. So it's part in the back of my mind that still is that connect to Selenium, WebDriver IO or something. I like WebDriver IO because it's full, more accessible and more recent compared to Selenium. But anyway, connect to it. It's JavaScript, and reuse it. So this is the other option. So there are all possibilities. Other questions? Thank you.